1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and tenors are doing the opposite. It's going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. The bass drummers are playing a samba. Da, 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 da. I hate to tell you, bass drummers, with the Regiment, that's an improv thing for the bass drummers to do. And they can, as we get into the groove on that thing, they do what they want. Cool. I think it's cold now. listening purposes. Try to pull those rolls together. Try to play them with all the same quality of sound as they're drumming. You notice all their roll pulsation comes off of the motion of the single beats. They don't ever really try to lift any higher unless they're playing accent. And you need to be able to do that. You need to be able to kind of play a monotone sequence of your rolling in order to pull those beats together. If you listen, it'll happen.
One thing Marty and I talked about before while they were rehearsing, it's going to look really sloppy when they start doing all the tom-to-tom stuff, mainly because of the different sizes and the distance apart. So I guess it's just going to add to the chaotic sound that it does when we start jamming to it. So it'll be aesthetic when you start seeing sticks go everywhere. And we'll miss the bass drum, but who cares? Probably the bluest part anyway.
See what you can do when you practice. Right? You got a lot of things to go through to get to that point from you young people. And it's going to take some locking yourselves away and practicing every day. Let's open it up for some questions right now. Do you all have any things that you really pressing questions you want to ask about percussion? Yeah.
You know, we talked about interludes, like we talked with the tongue. Okay, like I've heard a lot of piano, really a lot of drumming. My question is about how do you strengthen all the interludes? Like I saw you when you were playing a little while ago, and you were doing the tap. You know, the upstroke, downstroke thing, whereas like your accent is from the downstroke and then the upstroke, but you're playing that low. If you don't strengthen that, how can you play with the rest of the line?
Well, you work at playing strong. What we tell them to do is almost, I hate to tell you, we pinch on the stick. When we get down low, it's almost a low stroke out during the summertime. Okay? You see what I'm saying? So that they're actually, instead of it really being a tap, it's almost a controlled bottom stroke. I hate to say that.
But you're not just letting it fall.
Oh I'm playing that second beat, yeah. How strong it is at the bottom. You have to work at that, though. You have to talk about it every day. And that's why you do all those single sticking exercises. You do that, I know, whatever variations you do on them. When you were doing like bio and food, that's what they're working at. You keep it down.
In a sense, you have to.
Yeah, you have to have that. You're not going to execute any of the bottom beats, sure. But, you know, let's put it this way. You don't want to do that with a young drummer because you're going to be real stiff. Those are some of the things that you can do with people like you all. You can control that when your hands are ready to do that. When I teach a young drummer, the first week, before he's ever touching the stick, we do a lot of hand things, just moving the hands up and down, places and holding and being able to, when we put the stick in the hand and move without hitting the drum, just so they can move back and forth and get to those spots real accurate. And then we start hitting the drum. But if you start having them pinch down, they become real stiff. With older people now, you can get away with, I mean, I can tell you to do that and you'll do it because you got control of it. But sometimes drummers, people miss. They jump from one thing instead of covering the basics right away. If that makes any sense. They have to have a nice light touch too. It's a real hard thing, and drummers have to adjust constantly. That's why you'll see a lot of drum lines don't do slams very much. Because they're hard to play together. There's people who pull them out of their shows. It's something that a lot of the lines that do it don't get nearly enough credit for doing it. Because of all those control things that you're talking about. Does that answer your question? Yeah, we work that way a whole lot. Any questions out here? Yes.
I noticed that Sam used the cutaway snares this year. Is that just the looks or is that included the sound quality?
Well, it's not just looks. It has nothing to do with looks. It's got to do with sound quality. To tell you the truth, I got tired of those, the scoops, the sound injectors on the bottom. It gives you a real directional sound all the time. And it's too much bottom head sound. You get a lot of snare sound and not balance of the top head and the bottom head. That's what a snare drum, you have to have, you know, that's the other thing I don't like. I don't like these drums that are coming out with the top snares again. That's a pipe band drum. And that's the type of sound that was developed for it. And to me, you get a slapping sound, and it's the wrong sound. It's not the sound that I want to hear. I mean, drumming is noise. Let's face it, snare drum is noise. So it's all your personal taste in noise. You know, sorry, that's not. Everybody used to ask you questions on how do you tune your snares. All these guys, all these clinicians would go around and tell everybody, well, I pitch my snares and I pluck them like they're banjos. Hey, man, who are you kidding? It's noise. All you have to do is have your snares equally tensioned so that you don't have one snare hanging and another one real tight. If you get an equal tension, you're going to have a nice snare sound. Okay? Now, personally, I like the sound of natural gut snares. It gets a nice warm sound. That's what I use with the Phantom Regiment. That's why we get a darker, richer sound in our snare drums. But that's a lot of work. We always constantly are changing snares if we get rained on. We put silicone, we use Scotch Guard. We take the snares off and spray them, and we spray them a couple times, and that protects them. But a lot of like these drums have the nylon on the bottom, and they're good. And for most bands, they'll work real nice. I don't like cable, because I think it rattles too much. A lot of people are using that now. I just don't think it has, for my taste, it's not what I want. And the cutaway drum actually drops the pitch now. It doesn't keep the pitch way up, but it gives you a big, full, rich sound.
Is it weaker drumming?
Yeah, it weakens the drum a whole lot. That's why I have them special made. You can't get those. Don't try to do it to your drum unless you're going to put supports inside it. And the supports, we use, Pearl actually made them for me because I asked them. Went to the factory and they took care of it. We actually have aircraft aluminum inside, 4 strips of wide metal holding them together. We also have wooden supports in between the cases. And we didn't have any drums collapse. I mean, they held up real well. But I had to go through all that. Also, I had an added glue ring inside. That's something else I put in. Asked them to do. And, but you can't get that drum. That's only made for the regiment. Okay? You're better off sticking with your full shell drum. Unless you want. I wanted a darker sound because the fan regiment plays orchestral music. I couldn't see sounding all the very, very high pitched snare sound. It's wrong. It's a wrong sound for orchestral music. And I tuned my bass drums a little bit lower than most of the chorus for that reason, to get a little more warmth in the sound, as I do with the tenor drums. Although this year we're playing a program based upon French, and the music, the program we're going to end with the Bacchanal from Samson and Delilah. And really, the music is a much brighter sounding music. So I haven't had it outside yet. We've been, unfortunately, in Rockford, we have a very cold winter up there, and we don't ever get out until the May camp. But I really think this year the pitch of my bass drums is going to be a little bit higher because of that. It depends on the music I'm playing. Everybody always wants to ask you about the pitch of your drums. You go with the music that you're playing. I don't ever tell you what to tune your drums to. Although I can give you a kind of a guideline. Tenors want to be about a minor third apart. Then you're probably going to get a pretty good separation. Is that what you do, Mark? Yeah. And the bass drums is basically that way too. It depends on the size of the drum you're using. We don't use, well, you got it at what, 20? You see, my smallest drum is I use 5 bass drums, and I start with a 22. So I got 22, 24, 26, 28, and then I jump up to 32 by 16, because I need that punch out there. I need good, strong body. You know, I was a crazy man 10 years ago. Let's see, when did I start marching that 40-inch? We marched a 40 by 18 on the field. That's when we didn't have a sideline, because with the orchestral music, I needed a bottom. You know, I really needed a bottom. I had a kid who was a gorilla. We carried the 40-inch bass drum. And actually, to tell you the truth, the 40-inch is better out on the field. Because you get in the back of the field, we'd get up in the stands in a big a concrete stadium or a metal stadium. You could actually hear, not only hear that drum, you could feel a note hit you. It would actually, because of the sound waves, the kid hit it right in the center and he hit it with a little bit of strength. No, you can actually feel it. That was a real interesting effect. I have a lot of scoring things that I like better from 15 years ago. You're going to think I'm crazy, but I like marching timpani. I mean, I hated the concept, but when I go back and listen to the old recordings, you know, those timpani, you could do more with them. And you can actually do melodic lines. Right now, our timpani are kind of buried on the front sideline, and they really don't function the way a timpani should function as a bass voice. Because outside, a timpani doesn't resonate. The sound disperses so quickly. I've really thought about putting a timpani up on top of wooden rises and try to get a little shell or something under them to get the sound that I get from a timpani indoors. Indoors, a timpani has a big sound. Outside, they have a little thin sound. So, and that's another thing in my drum score. I'll use the bass drums more like a timpani voice than I will the timpani. And that's the truth. I write my timpani parts into the bass drums because they get more of the impact than a timpani would inside. So that's just some of the little things that happen outside. Timpani are not timpani outside for me, not in the orchestral sense. They're almost just a plain color instrument outside. I'm about through right now. And do you have any more questions? Here we go. Why don't I use marching cymbals? Have you ever heard cymbal players behind a 70-man horn line? You don't hear them. You see them, and that's about it. And honestly, I can put them up front and get the sounds that I want. Okay? And then that way, I got to the point where I was overwriting the cymbals. Everything I was doing had cymbal crashes in it. And I said to myself, wait a minute. Music doesn't have, orchestral music just doesn't have that many cymbal parts. And I was forcing parts. Okay? So when I put them in the pit, then I could use Germanic cymbals. I could use the Viennese. I could use French cymbals for real light things. So I could get all of the cymbal colors that I needed from the front sideline. And it also gave my pit players a whole lot to do, a lot more to do. The pit really works a lot. And for instance, that horn line comes from front sideline, they're sitting in that wedge. Who can hear the pit? Here I was writing parts 2 years ago, and I said, well, those kids are really working hard. Here I'm up in the stands, I can't hear a thing they're doing. The judges are complaining. I said, well, just take them off the parts and I'll put them on cymbals. That's one of the reasons why. 70 horns is hard to get anything on. Especially with all the monsters you have playing horns up there. So that's the reason why. Now it might fit for some chords. I think Blue Devils need to keep them. They got to do their cymbal rides. If I was Blue Devils, I'd have my cymbal players out in the field too. Play the cymbal rides because they need it in their type of music. Here I am. I just set mine with my cymbals up on the sideline last year. We played cymbal rides with the snare line. I'm doing it again this year. I just move my snare line up to those cymbals on the side. That works real well. And that way the tenor drummers and the bass drummers stay out in the field marching around. Keeps those guys out of trouble. I'll tell you, drum lines have come an awful long way. And I really hope this has helped you out. And I'm here for your sake. Do you have any other further questions? Oh, good. Go ahead.
There's a variation of stick techniques I've seen. Like, what's the correct traditional stick technique to use?
What do you mean by stick technique?
Like the way you hold your sticks. You know what I'm saying? Like some people hold their pinky out, some people leave it in, some people hold it up on the stick, some people hold it back on the stick.
Well, I'll tell you, I think the basic thing is that your whole line plays it the same way. And I like to finger back. I went through that before, and that's why I do it that way. I think whatever you're going to do, with all those little variations, you better be doing it the same way. You better have every person in the line doing it the same way. You're going to end up with problems. Okay? I don't know whether that's answered the question or not. Everybody has their own ideas on it. I mean, for me, it's that the stick needs to be behind the knuckle and you have to let it control.
In your opinion, what's the best way to do the bass drums?
Best way to tune the bass drum? The muffling? Well, I think the muffling is all a matter of taste. I prefer using the insulation stuff, which can take it on and off real quick. And I really don't put the muffling inside the drum. If it comes off, then you got to take the whole head off. And I hook my muffling to the shell. Not the shell, to the hoop. That way I can keep the muffling when I change a head, the muffling just stays on the hoop. Okay? And I use pieces of it so I can add and take away. That way I can sit in the stands and figure out exactly what I want. As the year goes on, this is for your sake, Bart, you get to those big stadiums, you want to be adding muffling. In the small stadiums, you want to take it away because the sound will disperse all over the place. But in the big stadiums, it holds the sound in. So like I know at Kansas City, I realized that from the first year I needed more muffling in the drums. Everybody's drums were too loud. So I added muffling and it helped. The bigger the stadium, the more muffling. The smaller stadium, the less muffling. I'll tell you one thing that really helps. When you put a bass drum head on, you need to seat the head. You know what I'm saying to you right now? You got to stretch the head out enough. The best way to seat the head is to actually sit on it. Yeah. Doesn't hurt you. Have you ever heard that before? You actually sit on the head. You want to get all the play out of the head. Once you get all the play out of the head, then you can tune it up and it'll stay for quite a while. And you can just do fine tuning adjustments on it. But you will actually on the bass head, you want to sit on that head, bounce up and down a few times, and get all the stretch out of it. You torque it up a couple of times. You won't hurt it. Turn the drum over. Biggest guy, just turn the drum over and sit on it. Turn it back. Put the drum on, hit it a few times. That's okay. Set it down and let's sit on it. You're going to see the pitch drop. The pitch will drop right now. You won't hurt the drum doing that, honestly.
You wouldn't be doing this every day before rehearsal?
No. You do this once or twice when you first put a new head on. That's it. That's not it. Unless you want to do a soft, you see it's dropped the pitch some. You'll really, your bass drum tuning, you'll get the head to have a little more resonance in it. That head has too much resonance right now. You'll stop having to tune the drum all the time. You get the play out of the head right away. Yes, sir.
First of all, do they have that muffling on the inside of their head?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, second question. Where can you get that insulation stuff without having to go to a music dealer? And you know how expensive it is?
Hardware store.
Somebody's got to make that stuff. I look all over.
Hardware store.
Yeah, hardware stores carry that stuff. Got inch thick,
Inch, is that what you use?
yeah.
Inch square like?
Yeah, it's about an inch square. You just go on the
They have like very short strips of it, got about 50 packages of it.
Yeah, I know what you're
Is
talking
that
about.
what you do?
Yeah, it's the only way to do it.
My high school line uses the air conditioning muffler that comes in square strips.
Uh-huh.
You got anything that works better than that?
Not really. That's what I've been using. Basically the best stuff.
How come you can't get more of it? It seems like, you know, somebody's making those small strips, why not make big, you know,
I don't know.
rolls of it?
Maybe you want to open up a business. I haven't seen it except for that way. I prefer using that, and it just seems to work the best for us. A lot of other people use other things. They make those dead ringers, I think they're called. Some of the guys use that. How about we play the Three Blind Mice thing one more time? Are we loose enough to do that? One more time, that'll be it.
Mr. Hurley, a round of applause for Mr. Sack. One last thing, we didn't have quite as many band directors show up as we had anticipated. There are some educator packets, they're called over by the door. It has a lot of technical exercise material in it on Pearl that different people have written. Any of you students that might like to have one, feel free to pick one up on your way out.
Okay.